Funding for the Nashville podcast comes from the neurosurgeons of the Howell Allen Clinic, national leaders in brain and spine surgery, specializing in laser brain tumor surgery and robotic spine surgery. The Howell Allen Clinic. Your life is our life's work.
This is the Nashvillager podcast. It's August 21st, 2026. On this day in 1974, the Federal Equal Education Opportunities Act went into effect. The primary intention of the law was to require states to go beyond the bare minimum of school desegregation. It made it so simply placing kids from minority groups in the same school buildings with white kids wasn't enough. They actually needed to get the same level of education, too. The law also makes it clear that equal access to education wasn't just a black and white issue. It essentially says that if a kid lives in your community, your public school system must offer an education to them. Period. Nationality can't be used as a reason to bar them. The district can't say no to kids who don't speak English. And in 1982, the U.S. Supreme Court clarified that, yes, that meant schools have an obligation to accept students whose families are in the country illegally. I'm Nina Cardona, and this is your daily digest of what's happening around Middle Tennessee with context and backstory from Nashville Public Radio, WPLN News. If you're paying attention to the state legislature this year, you're probably thinking, wait, didn't our lawmakers try to do exactly what you just said that federal law doesn't allow? And yes, there was a bill that originally sought to bar undocumented students from registering at Tennessee public schools. And last year, there was also talk about charging them tuition. It ultimately was tweaked to be a bill that would require schools to report the immigration status of students. And while both the House and Senate passed their own takes on the concept, they never did manage to combine them into one final iteration. So that measure basically stalled out. Of course, with so much support for the basic concept in both chambers, it wouldn't be surprising if a new version of it were filed for consideration all over again when the General Assembly gathers for its next session in January. And don't forget, there was always the possibility that lawmakers might specifically opt to pass a bill they know does not align with the federal law. It can be a strategy to trigger a lawsuit that ends up before the Supreme Court so that the justices can produce a decision that changes the way things work. It looked like that was what some folks in the legislature might have initially had in mind with the first version of these school bills. But it seems there wasn't the appetite to start that fight. However, this is an election year. There could be some shifts in the membership of the legislature before January, so we'll definitely be watching to see what bills get filed on the topic of immigrant students in public schools. Undocumented kids are also one of the targets of another thing that seems to be developing here in Middle Tennessee, although the details of this one have been really slippery to pin down. Last week, reports surfaced that public documents regarding the Department of Homeland Security contracts showed a big investment in store for our area. WKRN broke the story that an Alaskan company had been tapped to run a call center for ICE in rural Montgomery County. Specifically, the documents listed the zip code for Adams. Now, if you've heard of Adams, it probably was in relation to the Bell Witch. That's the ghostly character who some folks believe haunted a family in the early 1800s. You can visit the Bell family cabin and cave where some say the Bell Witch once tried to pull a young boy into the rocky depths. At the time of those hauntings, Adams was mostly farmland. And it still is. Clarksville now took the information from that document and identified 2 parcels of land that seemed to be the only options since they were the only properties for sale in the zip code that were big enough to hold a call center. Both were zoned for agricultural use. What's more, local authorities said they hadn't heard anything about a federal facility, and the location made no sense to them. Well, Montgomery County's mayor picked up the phone and started calling around to various federal authorities. And sure enough, they told him there had been a mistake. There weren't actually any plans to build an ICE facility in his county. But there was a contract. A company has been hired. They could be paid as much as $63 million for the job. So something is happening, right? But where? After all of that confusion, the Tennessee Lookout spotted a change in the documentation. The Adams zip code was replaced with another one in a spot that maybe makes more sense. Donaldson, home to multiple office parks and logistics centers. Although, It also makes a little less sense in that the local government might not be as amenable to playing host to the facility. Like I said before, the ICE call center would be used in part to do some sort of federal tracking of undocumented kids. Specifically, unaccompanied minors have been listed as a potential area of focus. It would also facilitate communication between ICE agents and local law enforcement that participate in the 287G program. That's a kind of coordination that Metro has specifically resisted for more than a decade. And it looks like the center will house some kind of development for new technologies that ICE can use to get better at working hand in hand with local officials. And the contract itself is assigned to a part of Homeland Security that leaves no question of the end result in mind for all of the work that's meant to happen there. And it's pretty much the polar opposite from the ethos at the heart of that federal education law that says kids are kids, and kids need to be supported no matter their nationality, their language, or even their documentation. This call center contract is specifically listed as belonging to the DHS Office of Detention, Compliance, and Removal. In just a few minutes, Houston Kendrick's record deal fell apart, so he finished his ambitious second album with Skilled Friends. And we'll find out more about that after the newscast.
Funding for the Nashville podcast comes from the neurosurgeons of the Howell Allen Clinic, national leaders in brain and spine surgery, specializing in laser brain tumor surgery and robotic spine surgery. The Howell Allen Clinic. Your life is our life's work.
Way back in 1952, the bronze Mercury statue atop Union Station took a tumble. There's been a replacement up there for the past 30 years, and that prompted the question,
the original, I'm wondering where it could be.
Curious Nashville chases down the old bronze with some twists and turns along the way. Learn more and ask your question at WPLN.org/curious.
Here's the latest from WPLN News. State law enforcement is investigating Ascension St. Thomas after a series of drug mistakes that led to catastrophic complications for at least 4 patients. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation confirmed the inquiry to News Channel 5. Families told the station that hospital pharmacists placed the wrong medication in syringes intended for patients undergoing routine outpatient surgeries. 4 people who came in for joint replacements were supposed to get painkillers, but were instead given potassium injections. That medication is intended for people with severe potassium deficiencies. If administered incorrectly, it can interfere with both the nervous and cardiovascular system. And this can have extreme side effects, including cardiac arrest. Hospital staff realized there was a problem when multiple patients went into heart failure. At least 2 people are paralyzed. One of them is on a ventilator. The hospital's administration released a statement apologizing for the mistakes and said it was connecting families with spiritual care teams and any other necessary resources. Republican State Representative Jason Zachary of Knoxville says he's working up legislation to place stricter requirements on automotive license plate readers and surveillance cameras. Zachary says that the legislation is in its infancy, and he's working with law enforcement to address their concerns. The proposal focuses mainly on how local governments use the cameras, including those from tech companies like Flock.
We have to think, in our role, we have to think about Memphis to Mountain City. And what I have discovered is there are so many agencies that have no type policy and procedures. Some have no policy and procedures. There are many municipalities that don't have policy and procedures. So what are they doing with that data other than the loose parameters we have set as a state where it can be stored longer than 90 days? What is being done with that data?
Zachary says the draft is aimed at ensuring only certified law enforcement personnel have access to that data and creating strict penalties for those who abuse it. The proposal comes amid bipartisan opposition against Flock-branded cameras in particular. Critics argue the cameras enable mass surveillance. Cheekwood Botanical Garden notched a win with the Metro Board of Zoning Appeals yesterday. On the surface, the issue was whether Metro made a mistake in letting Cheekwood move forward with a new parking facility that's now under construction. But it's also one front in a years-long fight. A Belmead neighborhood group wants less Cheekwood-related traffic passing through their wealthy neighborhood. To spur action, the neighborhood group's lawyer, Chanel Atchison, has targeted how Cheekwood is zoned, whether that lets it host big events like concerts, and whether plans for parking are properly permitted.
Cheekwood is beloved, and it should not close. But it must obey the law. At some point, the code has to mean what it says. The required approval was never sought, it was never granted, and the zoning administrator could not lawfully approve around it.
Ultimately, the Board of Zoning Appeals sided with Cheekwood yesterday, but the broader zoning fight is ongoing. And Atchison has also filed a lawsuit against Metro, essentially arguing it's failed to enforce its own rules around Cheekwood. Well, good news on Tennessee's unemployment numbers. It's 3.4%, the lowest unemployment rate in 2 years. According to the State Department of Labor and Workforce Development, our numbers remain well below the national rate of 4%. Economists say the low rates are because the economy is proving to be more resilient despite higher energy prices. Tennesseans who are 55 and older are also finding meaningful work through senior employment programs. A state fair ride malfunctioned Wednesday night, injuring 9 people. News Channel 5 reports 4 of them were taken to the emergency room but not admitted to the hospital. The ride was a wave swinger, one of those rides with individual swings hanging from a tilt-a-whirl type body. State officials issued a cease and desist for the ride at the Wilson County, Tennessee State Fair until it is fully inspected. Under state law, that inspection will be conducted by a third-party organization, not by a government agency. The growth in kids playing soccer in Tennessee has resulted in a corresponding shortage of referees. Youth referee Chris Godsick says he can't blame teens for passing on the opportunity, even though the pay is pretty good.
It is one of the scariest propositions for a younger person to get out on the field. It is like starring in a Broadway show with heckling. A lot of people just don't want it. It's not worth it. It causes tremendous anxiety because you are really involved in every critical decision, and it's really a lot to shoulder at a young age.
Godsick joined our midday show, This is Nashville, for an episode about soccer and sportsmanship. He offered to fill in as a ref for high school games this fall and immediately had his schedule filled. You'll find more news anytime at WPLN.org. It's demoralizing for artists to lose their record deals. Just ask independent Nashville pop visionary Houston Kendrick. He signed with a label and labored to make his second album before the deal fell apart. Kendrick picked up the pieces and finished the project DIY style with like-minded friends. And senior music writer Julie Height reports that he achieved even grander ambitions.
Houston Kendrick has never been a timid performer, but he really flexes his expressive range in his new music.
Returned with more bruises than the start.
In my brain, I'm just a pop star. Like, I just make big songs. With Paper Doll being able to have that operatic inflection and also go straight into the rap singing is exactly why I do this. It's expansive and it's huge and it's weird and it does not make any sense to your ear. But you like it. You really like it.
But that's not how he was taught to use his agile vocal instrument by the music instructors he had from childhood through college.
So when I got into the commercial music program at Belmont, and I saw what everybody was doing. Everyone was a singer-songwriter at that time. I was like, well, what if I want to be all of that, but I also want to be Frank Ocean, Beyonce, Rihanna, Lady Gaga, and Madonna, and Prince at the same time? Why can't we do it all?
Kendrick is black, queer, and in touch with his masculine and feminine sides. During the pandemic, he made his debut Small Infinity in his bedroom with a maximalist mentality and visuals to match.
They wanna hang with me, I cannot merely rock. That's why when everybody roll by this Betty Bop.
Blog coverage of Small Infinity caught the attention of hit songwriter Cadence, whose credits include Ariana Grande's 7 Rings and Beyonce's Black Parade. Cadence flew Kendrick out to LA to work on new material.
That was one of the first times professionally that I was like, okay, this is somebody who really sees this as a marketable product as well as a piece of art that can contribute to culture. And we found a deal partner, somebody that we really believed in and thought that believed in us.
Kendrick made LA his home base and did sessions with lots of top flight pros.
Little did I know it was going to be like another year and a half before this album was done.
I'm the type to wear a long dress in your boardroom talking business. I'm a fool. Now, I ain't trying to be conceited, but that confidence get deleted when you working long days and weekends and them customers get you heated.
His record deal had disintegrated.
Long story short, that didn't go amazingly well for me. I just fell into such a crazy depression, could not cope. I was about to have to get a day job again out in LA, and I was like, I can do this back in Nashville.
Kendrick wasn't just chasing a lower cost of living. He was also ready to call on the creative abilities of his tight-knit Nashville circle to get the music, photos, and videos done.
Look, it's been a rough go. I need your help.
As an artist myself, I completely understood the uphill battle that is trying to get a team of people to understand.
That's Prana Supreme, who's navigated her own recording career over her years of friendship with Kendrick. And she assisted while his buddy Blair Beamer designed such high-concept looks that Kendrick grew nervous.
I was like, Blair, this sounds crazy and expensive. I can't do this. And they were like, oh, we're doing it.
And they meant it.
As queer people from the South or who live in the South, it is intrinsic to our nature to know how to make a lot out of a little.
Beamer translated recycled materials into striking costumes.
The mermaid skirt, that is all CDs. It's a shower curtain that I made into a structured silhouetted skirt. A bunch of bottle caps and lined that with the CDs. There was a corset that I hand dyed with pomegranate. Houston and I both glued all of these recycled keyboard keys onto the corset itself.
The visuals they made together accentuate how Kendrick defies dominant narratives in songs like American Trash.
American brag, all up in my made in America bag. I'm from Alabama, I'm American black. Made a little crown from American trash. I really gotta laugh, look at me all in my American drag.
In the chorus, I say, look at me all in my American drag. To me, that's really the whole point. This bravado, this exceptionalism, all of the things that we are taught to feel proud about our American identity, all of it is drag, all of it is a costume. From my perspective, black gay boy from Birmingham, Alabama, there are real things that I'm proud of.
Kendrick can count his second album, Portrait of a Boy on Fire, among them. He turned to a trusted engineer friend, Bobby Nepper, to help him sort through thousands of audio files.
The album is like a seamless flow from song to song because of that real attention to detail that he brings to everything that he does. And with my neuroticism, it was a perfect match.
I'm such a Pisces, that's why you like me. That's why I hate you right now. Baby, my patience ran out.
It's about being lit ablaze in order to become new again. When I think about the creative process, it was waves of burning down and regrowing, burning down and regrowing.
And Kendrick's become even better at asserting his imaginative freedom, even when he's operating within practical limitations. In his new music, he's daring anyone to tell him that he is too much or wants too much for his art. For Nashville Public Radio, I'm Julie Height.
Thanks for listening to the Nash Villager podcast. We do this roundup of Nashville news every weekday. Please consider subscribing on your favorite podcasting app. And thanks so much to all of you who've left 5 stars, a thumbs up, or a review in your app of choice. A little bit of love really does tell the algorithms that more people should hear about us. And of course, everything at WPLN News is listener supported. You can make a donation at WPLN.org. And that's it for today. Thanks so much for listening. Let's make this day a good one. And we'll catch back up next week.
Funding for the Nash Villager podcast comes from the neurosurgeons of the Howell Allen Clinic, national leaders in brain and spine surgery, specializing in laser brain tumor surgery and robotic spine surgery. The Howell Allen Clinic. Your life is our life's work.